Mostly skateboarding and motocross.
Man, I haven't thought about the X Games since I watched Tony Hawk do his 900.
I think about the X Games a lot. I watched every X Games for like 10 years in a row, winter and summer.
Somehow I'm
I
not
think
surprised.
about
The way you phrase that, I think about the X Games a lot. Just something
It's
about.
true. I couldn't tell you if the X Games still occur every year. I assume they do. They must,
Let's
right? Why
find
wouldn't
out.
I still think about Tony Hawk and that he can do the 900 a lot.
Yep. Yeah, I watched that
You
at my
can't do it
grandma's
anymore.
house.
No one can do the 900, right? Like, he's the only person who's ever done it, and no one else can do it.
I don't know if I ever watched anything, but I just do have that very strong sense memory of the late '90s where you're just where it was all extreme sports and that was the whole thing.
I bought into it very hard.
Were you like
Let's
skateboarding is going to the Olympics?
Yes, I absolutely thought skateboarding would go to the Olympics.
It hasn't?
No.
What?
And maybe as an exhibition sport at some point, I don't know. But there's never been competitions for skateboarding at the Olympics. I was more into Winter X though. I was really into the insane bike jump where they would do the BMX or not BMX, the motocross bikes on the 90-foot high ramp in the snow.
Oh yeah.
And then tragically, he actually lived, but there was the one rider who just completely bailed and his bike fell. He fell 80 feet down to the ground to hard packed snow, and his bike landed on him, and it broke every single bone in his body.
Yeah,
and
I remember this.
He very nearly died. I was watching that live when that happened. It was brutal. And then they stopped doing that competition anymore because it was stupid and really dangerous.
That's ironic given the video that's currently playing on the stream.
I wish that there was an Olympics or a sporting event for just all the really weird sports. That's what I'm into when I watch whenever the Olympics is on. I don't know. I like all the ones where you're just this seems odd. I don't know why. The only reason people do it is because it's at the Olympics, modern pentathlon, steeplechase, all that stuff, where it's the sports nobody thinks about unless it's at the Olympics. So I wish there was an event that was just weird sports.
Do you mean biathlon?
Yeah.
I love biathlon.
Yeah.
Cross country ski and then shoot a gun and then cross country ski and shoot a gun again.
It's beautiful.
My cousin won a medal for skeleton sliding. So
skeleton's horrifying.
I like the walking race.
What?
The fast walking? Yep.
Is that actually a thing?
Yes.
Yeah. Speed walking?
There's a specific way that they have to move their legs so that they're not running.
It's
has to be in contact with the ground at all times.
Yeah. One foot has to be in contact with the ground at all times. And they're very strict about it. They have sensors and stuff to check it. Mm-hmm. And so it means that they do these they do this amazing hip sway walk. That's the most efficient high-speed walk. So it looks like they're doing a dance as they walk. It's really ridiculous.
That sounds amazing.
Great. It's great. Those are the sports that I like, are the ones where you're just that's when somebody's that's a thing, and I'm yeah, it is a thing, and I love it.
All that said, I hate ice dancing. I hate it so much. I love figure skating. I hate ice dancing.
I prefer figure skating as well. Well, that's the one. Well, figure skating is the one sport that I'm actually was decent at as a child. I was not if you can't believe it, I was not an athletic child at all, but I was pretty good at skating. So I have that little thing of I can't do other sports, but I sure can skate.
I always wish that I could skateboard, but I have no balance.
I used to skateboard, and then I almost cracked my head open skateboarding, and then I stopped doing it forever.
Glad you didn't do that.
I think if boosted boards were legal and cheap in the UK, I probably would have learned to skateboard and got a boosted board, but I don't want to.
Because the idea of that scares the crap out of me. They are legal here, and whenever I see them, I just wonder how the person's still alive. You shouldn't be able to go 35 miles an hour on a piece of wood that
that
you're just standing on, unless it's on the snow.
Yeah.
Seems safe enough.
Especially in traffic.
Oh, the traffic part, yeah.
Yeah.
The
Because
place
you're
that
very
I'm,
much out in the middle of everything.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing though. You have to be in traffic because there's nowhere that you can be riding a device 35 miles an hour on pavement in the United States and not be in
Right.
traffic.
Right.
Maybe Detroit.
Not even, trust me, it's a bad place.
and yeah, you can't see because all the streetlights are off. So like that's a real problem.
That's not true.
But at least Robocop will protect you.
I was in the city of Detroit like a week and a day ago, and there were streetlights on.
Did anyone get shot on the balls by Robocop?
No, he's dead.
Oh, yeah. The place I would want to use an electric skateboard would be on my commute to work, and my commute to work contains a hill that's like this. So I'm sure going up it would be fine, but I do not want to go down that.
If it's raining, going up it is going to be hell too.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of one of my main reasons. It's kind of gone away. Should we talk about video games and do a podcast?
Could.
Thing we could do.
So, dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to discuss video games. Yeah.
Is this the intro?
We could have used that as the intro, but the really long pause made it much better or worse, depending on your opinion.
Maybe a little bit of both.
Yeah, I think so. So we're all people. This is a Gaming Fix, episode 51. 51. What in 1 week we'll have been doing this for one entire year. Or in fact, have we already been doing it for an entire year?
We have special episodes.
Yeah. I mean, if we've got more than 52 episodes, that doesn't mean we've been doing it for a calendar year. When did episode 1 release? That's the big question.
No fact checking allowed, though. So
I'll fact check on any podcast. Look at me, I'm a rebel.
Is this still part of the intro?
I guess so. Welcome to Gaming Fix, episode 51. My podcast player only goes back to episode 33 for some reason.
Sick.
Nice. So looks like our first episode was episode 33 on August 19th. So
yeah, that sounds about right. Sounds about right.
But eventually we'll hit that magic 1 year number.
And then eventually we'll hit the magic 69 number.
Looks like first episode went up on. Looks like the first episode went up on January 8th. So we're all just about it.
This is basically our 1 year anniversary episode, I think.
Yeah. It's really great that the 4 of us are here to celebrate that.
Yep.
Yeah. Maybe next week we'll be able to get all 6 of us.
As long as we're all here for episode 100, that's the thing that matters.
Yeah.
Well, I think as long as we're all here for episode 69, episode 420 is.
Yes.
Yeah, those are important too.
Yes.
Yeah, those are
very important.
The two nicest episodes. So video games are.
And we'll have themes too.
Yeah.
Oh God.
We could talk about Fallout. 7 years earlier, Fallout.
I was gonna say that the 69 episode we could talk about sex games because that's the sex number, and then the 420 episode we could talk about weed games.
Weed games.
Number?
Should we talk about Pokemon? Let's go. Farm? Because Oddish is a weed Pokemon.
I did play a lot of Tetris Effect this week too, which is also a weed game.
Film Crit Hulk. I don't know if any of you are aware of Film Crit Hulk, film journalist. He's started playing Pokemon for the first time and knows nothing about Pokemon. And he's posting this thread of all of his impressions, and they're extremely funny.
Oh, I need to read those. That sounds really fun.
I've seen similar experiments before.
One of them was, "Yo, you guys weren't joking about it being cute dogfighting."
Yep.
Okay, so let's talk about video games, not dogfighting.
Not Pokemon.
Hey, buddy.
I'm kidding. You can talk about Pokemon if you want to talk
But
about
wait, what's your name? I don't even know.
Yeah. Who are you all? I'm Sam. Alex, who are you?
I'm Alex.
Need to move or be quiet because I can't hear what I'm doing too loud.
Pat, who are you?
Move.
I'm the Witcher.
He's the best
Like-
boy.
I think Henry Cavill is the Witcher, actually.
That's no. Did you see that outfit? No.
I saw the
Oh my
wig.
gosh.
Wait, is this becoming an ASMR cast?
Maybe.
Like,
He
Just
just
need
has
to,
to
like-
record the way that Andre does.
Wait, Allison, who are you?
yeah. I'm Allison. I like video games. Yay.
This is the worst intro we've ever had. I love it.
I know. Well,
Their best intro.
Well, we have one loud person, someone who likes video games, and I don't remember what you said, Alex. I think a monster slayer is probably the most valuable profession out of those four.
What if I was the
Bill
scat man?
Washington. Skip it up.
Precisely.
That is indeed what scatting is. You found it.
that's what our podcast will become. It's just scatting.
People, it's competitive scatting, but there's no.
Oh God.
It's not like football competitive scatting. It's like hockey competitive scatting. So it just keeps going. There's no stoppage of play. So people just keep going and going and going until the end of the show.
Does scat
Someone
also,
gives up.
Does scat also mean poop in the States? Because competitive
Yes.
scatting could have many different connotations.
When in the kind of we're talking about it, we mean competitive skitty boop bopping. not-
Okay.
Because competitive scatting is what they do at Hogwarts, right?
Yes.
I
What?
was just about to
There
make
it
that
is. There it is. We got there.
I feel like I've been talking about that like all for days now. Just like nothing but like, hey, shit on the
From
ground.
worst intro to best intro. We worked in the Harry Potter shitting thing.
Do you see
Just so sad for me because it's so dumb.
all the replies to that tweet that were like, I could have lived my entire life without knowing this.
Well, okay. So it just makes no sense though, because you literally could magic and enchant like a chamber pot to just deal with all of that. So why are you just like, well, no, we don't need to do that. We're just gonna shit on the
I'm
ground.
gonna have the fun experience of shitting on the ground or in my pants every day.
Oh my god, just magic it away. It's like,
And
what
then
did you
magic
do
away.
First year, you don't know any magic.
It's like they didn't understand that the part about why we have like toilets isn't because it isn't just to deal with the shit. It's also because it's unpleasant to have it touching your body.
Yeah.
And it's also
Yes.
unpleasant to do it on the ground.
I'd like to draw your attention to the specific wording of the tweet in which they say wizards would relieve themselves where they stood. And it
Yes.
said there were no bathrooms.
No,
which
the
implies
implication
that they didn't do it in private.
and that they
They're just
didn't
like,
yeah, they didn't take their clothes off. They just stood there and went, ah.
They're all wearing robes.
Yeah, but
Like
they still
Fantasia.
it's not like kilts. They still wear like undergarments under their robes.
They don't wear undergarments
far
under
as
their
they
Do I've seen the movies.
In kilts, there's no undergarments.
Yeah, but in robes there are. They always have pants on under their robes.
Hmm.
maybe they didn't at this point. We don't know.
Maybe they were
there'll be
all
a
just
policy
complete
that's like-
perverts then. I guess we don't know.
Guarantee Sirius
I'm
Black
kidding.
is free balling.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
The other response that I saw that was really good was that for the first 4 years of your time at Hogwarts, you don't learn the kind of magic that you need to use to clean up the poop. So like the implication is that for that time, the first 4 years, like all the students that were 4 years and under just had themselves cleaned up by prefects or something.
Oh my God.
Can you just imagine being an 11-year-old kid? You grew up with Muggle parents, so you don't know the ways of the wizarding world. You go to a place called Hogwarts, and you're like, oh, I'm going to magic school. This is going to be exciting. And then you just find out that everyone's just shitting all over the hallway. You're just
Oh.
like, what the
Well, also, does that mean that no wizarding homes had bathrooms or plumbing? Did they all just do this, or was it just at Hogwarts?
I think the wizards live in caves, right?
rite of passage at Hogwarts? Like, oh, this is, kind of like a hazing ritual.
It's like we figured out the way to really cut down on infrastructure costs. Don't have bathrooms. The rest of the
That's why
wizarding world
they
should
got
take
kicked
notice.
out. Who's
But
having like
Slytherin built the
because he's
Chamber of
like,
Secrets into a bathroom, so I don't even know what that was about. Maybe they had bathrooms, but they were just like, fuck it, we're not going to use those.
they slither into
Anyways.
other people's bathrooms.
Anyway, when that Harry Potter RPG comes out eventually, I hope that it's like that one Scum game, and you just shit on the ground, or like Ark, you just shit wherever you are, and then you have to turn around and do a spell on it. Otherwise, the monsters will follow you based on your scent. Or Hogwarts will just be covered in doo-doo all the time.
Ark is
If that's
free at the
not
moment.
then
isn't
Hogwarts
it?
is just going to be covered in all the time.
So welcome to episode 51 of Gaming Fix.
This is like I'm glad we got this out of the way because I felt like I don't know. This is all I've been thinking.
Before it becomes irrelevant, we should really talk about the fact that I saw one of the best headlines of all time ever, which is that Atlas. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but it was like Atlas devs introduce patch that causes death upon eating shit, because like there was like a bug or something in it. Yeah, like they eat shit and die. Allows them to eat shit and die. Like it was like a bug or something. I don't know, that like you could eat your poop. And because you can try to eat like any substance in that game or something. This is that survival MMO that the Ark devs are helping with. And so like the poop was giving people nutrients or something like that. I don't fully understand it. But all I know is that now if you eat poop in that game, you die. Or I guess in 2 days from now, you will.
Like Jesus.
I'd like to point out that our first episode a year ago, we talked a lot about A Dump in the Dark, and we've just come full circle.
Of course. I'm gonna point out that it hasn't just been in that episode that we've talked about poop a lot.
No, of course not.
It's a recurring theme on this podcast.
We're talking about A Dump in the light-hearted world of Harry Potter's wizards.
Sam, what video games did you play this week?
Thank you.
I played a video game with my television remote called Bandersnatch.
That's not a video game.
Is it?
It is.
I don't know.
It's interactive.
I spent enough time talking about it last week that I think it counts.
Yeah,
I mean, we can talk about anything on the show.
it's true.
Well, but we talked about that, and it counts.
What did you think, Sam?
I liked it. I'm not a huge Black Mirror fan. I feel like relentless bleakness isn't in and of itself an aesthetic. Whereas I feel a lot of other people do. And like there are occasional episodes which are actually surprising because they don't have horrible endings. And those tend to be my favorite. And also like a lot of people's favorites. And I don't know why they continue down this trend of like technology is the worst and it's ruining our lives, because it's kind of incredible. But yeah, so I really enjoyed it. I sat through and I was like, I had heard that there were 5 endings, and I was like, right, I've got 5 endings, so I must have seen all of them. And then the final ending that I'd seen, credits started rolling, and credits hadn't rolled on all the other endings. It's like, oh, okay, so I must be at the end. And then I talked with Fiona about it afterwards because she'd played it separately to me, and she'd got like 5 completely different endings, hadn't seen anything that I had seen. And it was all because like she made kind of one major choice differently to me.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, the balcony scene?
Yes.
Where it's you or Colin?
Yep.
She picked Colin, I picked me. So loads and loads of really cool stuff happened to her because she picked Colin.
I thought it made you go back after that choice if you picked you.
It does if you pick you.
Yeah.
But like Colin seems aware of that night having taken place when you speak to him later. There's a great bit where like you kind of threaten Colin with a knife very near the end of the story. And so you threaten Colin with a knife, and if you don't kill him, he goes, "Oh, thanks, mate. I'm enjoying this timeline," and leaves. Whereas in Fiona's run, because she picked Colin instead of himself, Stefan. Colin's wife turns up looking for him.
Yep.
Because as soon as he goes in the balcony scene, he's never seen again, and everyone's looking for him. He's missing in the game, which is kind of cool. I also like the fact that Colin is aware of the timelines shifting and changing. I think that's really smart. I think that's what makes it more interesting to me than just if it was what it was. But because things change and like there are very slight variations when you redo scenes, like that makes it way more interesting. I'm disappointed that it didn't Doki Doki me enough. At one point during, I would say, like 2/3 through, the Netflix app on my PS4 crashed,
Oh.
and I thought that it was part of the show,
Oh no.
and I was like, "Oh, this is smart. This is really smart." And I'm like, it came up, it was like, it said Netflix is having difficulty playing this title, and I was like looking around all the help menus, like trying to see if I could get back to where I was, and like, so I spent like maybe 2 minutes on that, like looking at the error codes on Netflix. I was like, oh, I should probably Google this and like see if there's anything else I have to do anywhere, and like, and I Googled it. I was like, oh, this is just a Netflix error code.
Yeah, that's great.
Just broke, not anything too.
Yeah.
Special.
But yeah, I was expecting that sort of stuff. I think that if they did, like, knowing Charlie Brooker has played Doki Doki Literature Club, because he tweeted about it, like, I feel like he probably would have incorporated that if that had been around when they were planning it. But I think obviously a TV show like that probably was in the planning stages long before that game came out.
It's probably also hard to plan a crash when Netflix has like apps on toasters and shit.
Oh yeah, exactly. And I think the genuine, like, impressive nature of Bandersnatch is that it is playable on basically everything. You can even play it on like my smart TV and the Blu-ray player in our house.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not just the PS4. Like, I happen to use the PS4 as my primary Netflix player because I've got stereo wireless headphones for it. So, like, if I'm watching something in the morning and I don't want to wake Fiona up, like, that's what I tend to use, which is why I was using the PS4.
Right.
But I could have done it on like any device, and the interface is really slick. The one thing I would say that I didn't super like about it was the time it took for decisions. So like,
Mm-hmm.
there was no decision where I took more than 2 or 3 seconds to pick a choice. And because the decision timer is covering the load in the background of the two options, they're always quite long. Like, they're all like at least 10, 15 seconds. And it would be nice to have had varied time lengths for more important decisions. There's no real action-y sort of decisions that you make in the game. Like, you don't make a like turn left, turn right, hit the zombie, shoot the zombie, quite like decision. And I think that would have been interesting. I did like the kind of Twitter conversation about it quite a lot. That was one of the most interesting things before watching it, was people just like going, Frosties or Sugar Puffs, Frosties or Sugar Puffs. Like, that was really good.
So
It was cool to see 1984 UK as well. That's fun. Although the biggest takeaway I had from it was like, I wish that book existed. That book looks so cool. Like an adult choose your own adventure that's like 2,000 pages with like intermingling conspiracy storylines written by a madman.
did you notice who the madman was played by? I told this to Allison last week, but
I recognized them, but I didn't bother looking them up.
it's Jeff Minter.
Oh,
Wow, that's funny.
Yeah,
that
like that was really a weird choice that I thought was amazing.
Yeah.
So did you to talk around the spoilers, did you enjoy the part where you had to pick a logo or a symbol? And did you pick the correct symbol that went down the really weird path?
Yes, I got the action movie ending.
That was really good.
Did you get the fourth wall break ending?
No, I didn't, but Allison did, so we talked about it.
I did. I did. That was probably my favorite. Maybe my favorite. I really liked it, but that was one where I that's kind of the thing I kind of wish it leaned more into, is some of the fourth wall breaking, because that was that's enjoyable for me, and I enjoyed that.
My favorite ending was the White Rabbit one where you get on the train.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys got that. That was
I
my
like that one
favorite
too.
one.
I
Well, actually, no,
remember.
my favorite one, sorry, was the current day one.
That was a very good one too.
That one's
Oh,
good.
that
I
was
like,
good.
explains the
I
whole
like the
thing.
White Rabbit one though, with the train, definitely.
Yeah.
I thought it was the best Black Mirror related product I've consumed,
Interesting.
which is to say that I feel the same way that you do, Sam, about Black Mirror, except that I am more aggressively anti that show, which we don't have to get into because I don't like being a bummer. But I really do not like Black Mirror, and this was one that I wasn't planning on watching, but some friends were doing it, and so I kind of sat in with them. I missed the very beginning, but I got caught up pretty quick.
You should watch the bees episode. I can't remember what it's called.
I've
one
seen
with
the
robot
ones.
bees.
I
That's
always
my
watch the ones that I've seen that one. I always watch the ones whenever I bring up my criticism of Black Mirror. I'm not accusing you of this either, but there's always like two people in the room that go, well, you need to watch this episode. So I've seen most of that show and all of the ones that people recommend as this is the one. I like the Star Trek one.
Oh, I like that one a lot.
The bees one is the one that everyone says is the worst one, but it's my favorite one because it's
I
like
don't like that one.
more conventional.
I don't really like any of them that much, but if I had to pick a favorite, I would say that the Star Trek one's my favorite. But I actually like real Star Trek far more than Black Mirror Star Trek anyway. So
What's done from the
I just like
Parallel?
I just like all the actors. In Star Trek.
I just don't. I kind of agree with you. I'm not really a Game of Thrones fan either. I kind of dislike intense bleakness, and I've never come away from Black Mirror going, wow, that was insightful. So, but I know other people do, and like similar conversation that we had around Game of the Year about Oberdin. Like Alex didn't connect with Oberdin, and other people super did. So I totally get that it's a subjective thing, and wouldn't try to tear it down for anyone. But
it's weird because I wouldn't think that Black Mirror is something that I would necessarily connect to, because normally I'm not somebody who's into intense bleakness, but I don't know what it is. I think that I just really like it, mostly because I like the kind of anthology of it all, and I feel personally that what it does well is that it rarely, like, despite its reputation, I think it rarely is saying the thing that it's rarely saying is that technology equals bad, but rather just like it's exploring more about humanity in regards to technology, which is the parts of it that I like. And I think where it shines and when it falters is how human it really gets, if that makes sense. So I think that there are certain episodes that I think are better than others for sure. I've been yelling this whole episode, San Junipero is the best episode, and I will fight everyone. But it's the type of show where occasionally, whenever I watch it, I just need to like watch one and then just never watch it again, and just like take a long break.
Sure.
Before
I will say, in regards to Bandersnatch, the thing I was kidding when I said it wasn't a game. It's totally a game. It's a game if you think it's a game. It has play elements. But what I found frustrating about it was I thought it was the quality was pretty like high in terms of production and acting and writing. I didn't like the like super stream of consciousness stuff that it did. Like in a vacuum, some of that like weird stuff is really fun. But a lot of it, like, again, I don't want to get into specific spoilers, but it just felt very much like they did it because holy shit, that was crazy. And now, whoa, you're in this weird space. And it I get that it had relevance to the plot, but it just felt a little bit contrived to me sometimes when he did some of the more violent or strange actions. And I didn't love that. And then I also just kind of don't like that we sat down and granted, part of this is impossible to avoid with this kind of storytelling, but I liked the notion of you played through it, you got your ending, that's the story that you saw, and then you can go talk to other people about the stories that they saw. But it kind of bugged me that it was sort of set up so that it would just take you back so that you could easily see all the endings. That was actually like, I was kind of like, well, so what's the weight and relevance and importance? Like you very clearly could see like, oh, so these are the endings that don't matter then. And these are the real endings that matter.
There are 14 endings, and you don't see, Fiona didn't see any of the good endings. She didn't see the future ending, the present day one. She didn't see White Rabbit. Like she missed loads of them because she took paths.
It may have been, again, the group that I was playing with. They ended up like Googling like, oh, well, how do we get let's make sure we saw all the endings. And it just was like, 4 hours of sitting in front of the television, kind of like, oh, so we're just gonna like wring everything out of this thing that I don't think is that. I mean, it's fine, but I don't think it's like worth this time investment. And then we're also not just accepting like these are the choices we made, so this is the ending we get either. And that was a little frustrating to me.
Because at one point, about 90 minutes in, they basically like kicked me out, like you're done. And there's a decent. I mean, like I saw most of the major endings, but there are a couple of the variations that I didn't see.
Did any of you guys get the ZX Spectrum ending?
I saw that one.
That was pretty good.
Which one's that one?
Yeah.
So it's after the credits. And it's not really a spoiler to talk about. It's that you pick a tape at the start of the game for what music you're listening to.
Yeah.
You get to play the tape of the game, like the actual game tape of the game he made in his Walkman or whatever.
Yeah,
and it just plays ZX Spectrum sounds, and then if you load that into an emulator, it shows you a QR code.
Oh, that I didn't know. I didn't see that.
And then it brings you to a site
cool.
that like you can actually download the Nosedive game and stuff like that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
There was a lot of those like little individual things when taken apart were really cool. I just didn't really like how it all hooked up together.
Sure.
It felt like a lot of very cool individual moments that when you combined them into one big thing didn't really have any weight or impact to me, I guess, was really the thing that I found kind of frustrating. But
I really like Will Poulter, who played Colin. He's brilliant.
He's very good.
Yeah, the acting was great in it for sure.
I think as a first effort for some like a larger scale thing like this, it was pretty good. I would say
Totally.
I would say it wasn't perfect.
And I would give it like a 6.5 out of 10 probably. I'm not saying it's like terrible or bad or anything. It's just I didn't find it particularly inspiring either. So I would love to see them do more. I would like to see them do more with other
properties,
with that concept in other properties. I don't think I'm interested in seeing another Black Mirror take on it personally. I'm sure plenty of people would be, but I would love to see something like the Dragon Prince do a cool choose your own adventure side movie or something like that. That's kind of like, I'd like to see it taken in more directions.
I would like to just see more interactive movies. I thought that was super interesting. I would like to maybe even see the Black Mirror people involved, but for it not to be Black Mirror. I think there is an expectation of tone with Black Mirror and an expectation of for things to get out of hand and be a little over the top in terms of like violence or sexual content or whatever. And I'm okay without those things.
I don't know if I would say that Black Mirror is necessarily violent or full of sexual stuff. A lot of times it's just like existential horror.
Expectation too, especially since again, you have episodes like San Junipero and Hang the DJ that are a lot more like positive and like hopeful in tone than Black Mirror normally is. So I think that Black Mirror really could be pretty much anything it wants to be at this point.
It does take a really long time to get to those stories, though. They're all in the latest season, aren't they?
And 80% of it does have to do with over the top, like disturbing stuff. That's that is. I mean, what I've seen anyway. Like that first episode is one that I don't think I would recommend anyone ever watch.
Is that the national anthem?
Watch it. Yeah.
I actually like that one.
Rewatching it because I might rewatch all of Black Mirror because that's where I'm at right now. But
I think it's weird and gross, and I don't think it is particularly artful or meaningful.
I haven't seen it, so I haven't commented.
I think that one is one where the like explicit nature of the storytelling works. It also was like a different time. It's like 7 years old at this point.
Oh, totally. I mean, yeah.
Very weird episode, but it's very different from the rest of Black Mirror. But at the same time, I think it's I think it's a really good one, just because I feel like it's it was almost like kind of prescient in a way in terms of like viral media and how that thing goes. And then also it was very prescient in terms of David Cameron and
I guess I just didn't need anything to spell that out for me. And there probably are people who did, but it was all very like, it felt kind of ham-fisted in its commentary. And then, no pun intended. That was not good. And then like that whole sequence, it just it screamed to me after weeks of people building it up as me being crazy for not watching it. It just screamed to me of like, look, we are people writing a show and it's going to be edgy. So strap the fuck in because there's going to be rough stuff that happens and it's going to be good. And I was just like, please stop.
You know what that reminds me of?
I don't know if I'd agree, but I can definitely see where that is the.
That's exactly where I fall on the film Black Swan.
Oh,
I can see that.
Black Swan is like one of my favorite horror films of all time.
Oh, I hated it.
I loved it at first, but I've come to a place where I'm pretty media. I could go either way on it. I can see why it would be someone's favorite, and I can also see why someone would find it kind of appalling.
One real quick thing, and then we should probably move on to video games.
Yes.
There was Charlie Brooker before Black Mirror did a really small TV series called Dead Set. I don't know if you guys have heard of it.
I have. I think I've seen a little bit of it, but I don't. The name sounds really familiar, like something I've seen on a screen.
So, Dead Set is what if the zombie apocalypse happened during the season of Big Brother?
Mm-hmm.
So they're trapped in the house.
A little bit of that.
They're trapped in the house and running out of food, and the zombies are like at the fence of the house. And it was filmed in the real Big Brother house after the season ended.
Yeah,
that's great.
Oh wow!
And like, it's just really, really good. And they use all the tech from Big Brother, so it's like really high production value.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it's a super, super well done story. And like all the actors that were in it are like now quite big because they moved on from Dead Set to other things. And like, I think like Emily Mortimer is in it and people like that.
That's really cool.
It's really good. I would highly recommend it. Alison, what did you play this week?
So I didn't really play that much, so I'll probably not take too much time. Played a little bit more Phoenix Wright and don't have much more to say about it. And for some reason, I just decided to pick up Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle again, and I'm hopefully going to try and finish that one because that game is quite good, but I never finished it. I don't know how much I have to say about it, but it's just kind of I think part of the reason I like it is that it's the type of game that you never really would expect would work, but I just think it works so well as kind of as a tactics game and as a Mario game, and I'm hardly not a Rabbids fan at all, and I think they work just fine in it. So it's kind of I really like games like that. So I'm almost done with the first world, so still have a ways to go. But I don't even know why I picked it up. I was just like, you know what, I haven't played in a while. And it's that time of the year when it's when I feel like I can play whatever I want because there's no game of the year anymore.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and I haven't played them yet, so I have nothing to really say about it. But I also I've picked up all 3 Danganronpa games on the Steam sale, and I also just picked up Graveyard Keeper on the Steam sale.
That game is broken.
Is it really?
Yes.
Well, shit. No, I mean, I saw some people recommend it, and it wasn't very expensive, so I got it. But
we'll
see how I have to.
It's good, but it is broken.
My understanding is the brokenness doesn't really become prominent until a little ways in. You might know better than me.
At which point it might break your save.
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
but like you can get some enjoyment out of it before you hit that point.
Yeah.
And at that point, you maybe can say, "Well, I've played 10 hours of Graveyard Keeper, so I've experienced this game," and move on. It's sort of the understanding I have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it wasn't terribly expensive, but it was. I saw a lot of recommendations for kind of that kind of life sim type game, which I've been kind of craving. So
yeah, it's cool. It's like Stardew Valley meets, I don't know, 6 Feet Under.
Yeah, so I'll let you know how that goes, if it breaks or if it's good.
So do you guys think Kingdom Battle, Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle, does that ever get a sequel, or does Ubisoft ever make another Mario game kind of like that?
I hope it does. I think it deserves one. I mean, I think
really well.
It sounds like it deserves one. I don't think it'll happen though. I haven't played it, but I mean, I would be in the camp of it probably should happen because people like that game a lot. But
I would be interested to see them cross over into something else.
I think that's
So-
probably more likely. Is you'll see more Ubisoft crossovers with Nintendo, sort of in the vein of the Starlink stuff with Star Fox.
Oh, yeah.
I could see a
Yeah.
Metroid thing happening soon.
Yeah.
But what if we
It's-
did Mario plus Star Fox plus Rabbids?
Oh my god.
I mean, I'd be
And
there for it, but
Mario and the Rabbids go to the Star Fox universe.
Hell
the fu-
yeah.
the better thing is that they're gonna is the idea that they would have Ubisoft make a Metroid game that has nothing to really do with Metroid, but it has Samus in it, and then that's Nintendo's like, we made you a Metroid game.
Metroid
Isn't
Prime
this
4,
what you wanted?
buy
And you're like,
Ubisoft.
Wait, guys, what if they made Rabbids cross Kirby? So you have Kirby Rabbids that are absorbing other stuff.
What
They
if
just
Kirby
constantly
just
absorbing each other.
sucks in the
Oh.
Mario Rabbid and then spits him out? And that's the
And
whole
again-
game.
If they wanted to keep going with tactics, which is what I would like, fingers crossed, hope that they do.
Mhm.
Tactics, a game including Kirby being able to absorb other powers and use them, would be kind of interesting.
So fun.
I almost would see that more as, and this sounds wild because it's at this point that game came out. Did that come out in 2017?
Yeah,
So it's not that old. Yeah.
2017.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I could almost see them doing that as a DLC kind of thing, though. That's
Mm.
the thing, is I don't know that Ubisoft feels that like the Switch as a platform is kind of solved in terms of its hardware capability.
Sure.
So there's no reason to make a sequel for really any game on it unless you're going to build a whole new game's worth of stuff. So for something like Rabbids, Mario vs. Rabbids, like it makes sense to me that they could add more Nintendo properties as downloadable stuff and meaty downloadable stuff. Like I think that DK expansion was pretty substantial. It was like a whole nother world of content. It was my understanding, but
Yeah. I'll tell you the reason why they would make a new title release over a DLC. Because new titles cost more money than DLC.
Hmm.
So they make more money.
maybe, I don't know.
And I bet there's people who would rather buy a new game than to buy the old game plus DLC.
I think
Yeah.
you're totally right. There's totally people
Yeah.
that would. I just don't think they give a shit about them.
Well, right, but I mean, would it be more profitable to release like
Yeah, it's more profitable, so they will do it.
$20 Kirby DLC or whatever, and people who are Kirby fans but don't have Mario Rabbids might not get it, but Kirby
Possibly,
fans.
yeah. And there,
Right.
I think there are probably more Kirby fans than there are Donkey Kong fans, so that could be the case.
Rabbids cross XCOM, which
Straight
is
up.
doing it.
I mean, if I could just fire a Gauss rifle at a rabbit and watch what happens.
Put it in Archangel armor.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
I'm kidding. I don't actually want to hurt rabbits. They're cute. They
I
just
don't think you can.
They're incapable of being hurt.
They can't feel pain.
Yeah.
God of War cross rabbits.
Oh man.
I thought you'd be the one to hurt me.
Boy.
No, they're not Kratos. They're the Norse gods. And Kratos just one by
They're
one
gonna throw in some God of War
pops
stuff.
them, just like
Read
squishes
it,
them.
boy.
Boy.
Hey, boy.
Oh, man.
So, Alex, what did you play this week?
Do you want the game or do you want the not game?
We've already talked about not games for, I would say, 40 of the 55 minutes we've been recording.
Yeah.
So
Let's go game. I'm going to say
I'll
game.
come back to the not game then.
Oh no.
I didn't even talk about Clock Simulator, the game that I had played.
So about an hour before we started recording the cast, my friend asked me, "Hey, do you like Picross?" And then he added, "If you don't, we aren't friends anymore." So
Yeah.
I think
the
that's
only-
that's
yeah.
a pretty
I mean,
natural way
fair.
to approach that. And my
Mhm.
response is naturally, Picross is the best. So
Yeah.
he recommended me this game called Pixel Puzzle Collection. It's on phones, and it came out late last year for mobile, but it totally slipped under my radar. And the weird part is it's the latest release from Konami. So it's technically a Konami game. And
I didn't think you gambled.
no, surprisingly, there is no pachinko in
The
this at
health
all.
club.
Nor is there any health clubs. But yeah, I've put in like 30 minutes because I only got into it an hour before the cast, but it's really good. Like it there's a lot of quality of life features that are like gonna make it really hard to go back to normal Picross, like on the 3DS or whatever. So like stuff like if you figure out which 4 in a row are like 100% the 4 you need, it'll automatically make X's on the spaces which are no longer relevant. So like you don't have to do that yourself anymore, and it just takes care of it, like that kind of stuff. And if you complete a certain amount of like levels and stuff, then you get the ability to have multiple boards on the go at a time. So you're not just like stuck with one board if you get, stuck. So it's pretty good. It's really fun. And all the music and art and everything is straight out of old Konami like arcade games. So it's been kind of nostalgic that way. Like I've seen
Weird.
Bomberman and Mystical Ninja Goemon and Castlevania and Twinbee and like Scramble and stuff like that. So I don't know what else is in there.
See Kojima make a Mystical Ninja Goemon game than another Metal Gear game.
Hell yeah, I agree. But yeah, no, that game is super good.
Not on the UK store.
Pardon?
Not on the UK store.
Oh, so sad.
Mobile game releases are really bad. Like it could have been out in Australia a year and a half ago, and it came to US store last month, and then it'll come to UK store in 2 years. Like
Dragalia Lost still isn't out in the UK.
Yep, sounds about right.
But yeah,
I mean, you're not missing much. Let's be real, but
wow. I still have that game installed for some reason.
I do too.
Put it
right
on
now.
our Game of the Year list. You put it on the games in consideration.
The music is very good in that game.
The music is very good. It's the rest of the game that's not great, but the music is really great to the point where I still listen to the music occasionally, just don't play the game at all.
But yo, Pixel Puzzle Collection is really good unless you're in the UK.
That's cool. I bet it's still good in the UK. You just can't get it.
Probably.
Yeah.
I do enjoy Picross, so I might have to download that soon.
Yeah, I would say like I love Picross. I've played a lot of Picross, especially like the Picross S and stuff. Like whatever shows up on the 3DS. And the S is the Switch, so also that one. But like I would say this is a little better than those.
Wow.
So it gets pretty good.
That's high praise.
Yeah, it's good. It's good Picross.
How has Nintendo not released Picross as a mobile game?
Right?
Yeah, because they have it on like various platforms, but they don't have like just a mobile Picross.
Is it?
That is a Nintendo published game, right?
I was gonna say I don't know if it's developed by Nintendo though.
But I think they published it, right?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
My thinking is that there are 8,000 Picross games on every mobile platform, and they want to stand out.
It's true.
That's true.
Hungry Cat Picross is real good.
That's because, oh God, I was real into Hungry Cat Picross for a while, to the point where I completed all the puzzles multiple times on that.
Yeah.
I know Hungry Cat Picross way too well. But it's very good. So if you're looking for a good Picross game.
Coming soon, Harry Potter's Piss Cross.
Well, now I'm going to have to include that conversation when I edit the podcast. Thank you.
Is that our title? Harry Potter's Piss
Cross?
Harry Potter's Piss Cross.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you for that, Pat. We got a good title.
At least now we know how we can magic away the things that don't work or whatever.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. It's a mobile game, and when you can't solve a puzzle, you can just use the spell, and then it goes away.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys want to hear about a real good anime, but
what's it called?
What's a real good anime
you want to talk about?
It's pretty good. It's called Land of the Lustrous. And I'd heard a lot about this. It came out in 2017, and like after Game of the Year and everything like that, and after the New Year, I was kind of like, oh, I just need a breather. I'm just gonna watch something super lighthearted, and I got into that show because I'd heard so many people recommend it, and it's got like a really cutesy art style, and I was like, okay, it seems like a really good one. But yeah, I went into it with really tempered expectations. # tempered expectations is a good podcast. But like, I don't know. Have you guys ever watched CG anime or CG television shows? Because I have a pretty big aversion to them.
Were you talking like Roughnecks?
I don't. Oh, Roughnecks, that's some good stuff.
Roughnecks is good shit.
I'm gonna say qualitatively worse than Roughnecks. Like,
okay,
I'm talking about like Knights of Sidonia or Ruby or like Berserk recently.
Oh yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
I don't get into Sidonia at all. I really wanted to.
I wanted to too, but like it's like you're watching a video game cutscene that's like having frame drops.
Yeah.
Like it's like suddenly the frame rate goes down to like 10 and you're like, what is going on?
Doesn't Gundam Seed employ some of that stuff?
Yeah. Like,
so That's the only one of those shows that I've been able to get into that's got a lot of that kind of CG element to it. Otherwise, I totally agree with you. I think it's rough. I think I don't understand why anyone watches Ruby, to be honest. I'm sorry to sound like a jerk. But like, teach their own.
But
but
it's true though, because like the fully CG shows are just hard to get into because like especially the thing I was just talking about where it looks like the frame rate just cuts down to like 10.
Totally.
Like, what is going on? Like is the console having trouble? So like as soon as like this is 100% CG show, so I already had kind of like a little like a fart sound going. I was like, but the thing about that show is I think it's actually made better by the CG. So like I think they're able to do things they otherwise couldn't have. So it's actually a pretty good artistic choice, which is not something I would have expected going in.
Like the Transformers movie.
Yeah,
carry on.
It's basically the Transformers movie, but the story is basically that they're
back that up.
Look,
I saw you making motions.
One of my favorite movies from last year.
Oh God.
I really want to see that, and I've only seen 30 minutes of any Transformers movie.
Back to good things. I don't know. Bumblebee might be good. Back to good things, not Transformers movies.
Yeah. There is a scene in which there's a load of military people having a meeting, and John Cena is there, and the meeting is about whether to trust the Decepticons or not. And John Cena goes, "Guys, they're called Decepticons.
Okay,
does that bother anyone?"
We're not talking about Bumblebee. That movie sounds fine. We're talking about
Transformers.
One, this anime, and also the other Transformers movies by Michael Bay are terrible.
One of them has balls. The giant Transformer has balls.
Oh my God! Yes, it does.
One of them also has like intensely racist caricatures of people that are. It's God.
Movie.
Literally, the only 30 minutes of that movie I saw, of the first one I saw, was when I went over to my friend's place, and it was on TV, and it was the only 30 minutes that didn't have any robot fighting, just a lot of masturbation jokes.
Those movies are literally Michael Bay's worldview in a movie where it's like robots are cool, women are sex objects, and black people are funny. That's the only thing that that's like the only things that fire on the neurons in his brain.
Fun fact, the racist black cars, Fiona drives one of those. That's our family car.
The cars are fine. Please continue about this interesting sounding anime.
But yeah, anyways. So like short version of the story is that they're anthropomorphic gems. So like you hear people saying like, oh, it's the anime version of Steven Universe.
Okay, I was gonna make that
which is pretty good, but like I was like lighthearted, Steven Universe, all right, that sounds pretty good. And that's pretty apt actually, but especially for the first couple episodes, but after like 3 or 4 episodes, it's kind of like a cross between Nier Automata and Metal Gear Solid.
I'm into that.
Like it deals with like existentialism and like Faustian paradoxes and stuff like that, and it's really crazy.
Sounds good to me.
It's extremely good actually. Like the story ends in a place where it's like super relatable and really well told. Like the only knock I have against the entire show is that it's too good, which sucks because it's because it's so good, but then it ends on a cliffhanger and there's no news about a second season. So it's like it could just end there forever, and it's just like that's such a waste because it's so good. But yeah, it was that good that I went out and bought the books like to continue the story as soon as it was over, which is like super rare for me. So
cool.
Yeah, like it
sounds like something I might actually watch.
Yeah, if you want to watch it legally, it's on Amazon Prime Video. Other than that, you have to torrent it. But it's extremely good.
Good to know.
We don't torrent things here, Alex. We're fully legal. Nobody sideloading any apps during this podcast.
I only torrent the games that I own. Let's talk about Pro Tools.
Torrented PS1 games.
Pro Tools is a grift, though. That's the thing is I'm very anti-piracy, but there's certain products that exist that one they can't get. They're not available in your region, which in that case, like do what you got to do to acquire the thing.
Young Justice Season 3. Fuck you, DC.
And 2,
fuck you. 5 years I've waited for that show.
If the product is like not offered as a thing that I don't know, Pro Tools sucks.
I own Pro Tools and I use a torrented version because it doesn't crash as much.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways,
which technically you're not doing anything illegal if you own a license to the.
Yes. Anyways, Pat, what have you been playing?
So I played a bunch of stuff. I'll give quick hits about the things that some of the things that I played, and then I can talk at length about something else because we actually filled up a bunch of time. But I, like Allison, have used this time as a way to play all kinds of stuff across the board. A lot of stuff that I wanted to dip into for like an hour or two, and then come back to later. So in that vein, I played a little bit of Parkitect, which is a game that if you like Roller Coaster Tycoon, you should buy Parkitect because it is the best Roller Coaster Tycoon since Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, and it actually improves upon that formula in some pretty incredible ways, specifically in the like behind the scenes, how the staff manage the parkways. I think that's very, very cool. Otherwise, it is absolutely just like an updated Roller Coaster Tycoon. So it's a great game. I played some of House Flipper, which is pretty aggressively boring, but not in a bad way.
It's weirdly it's like weirdly relaxing.
I can't say that I'm going to play it in long, frequent sessions, but it's definitely something that I can see throwing on again when I want to catch up on some podcasts, or if I want to watch, perhaps this anime that Alex just talked about. It's that kind of a game where like the only thing that I actually don't enjoy in it is doing the painting stuff. I think that's super tedious, but you get upgrades to make that go faster, and it's more than just clicking. It's actually kind of a fun game. I played a game of not a board game of it, but I played some Mario Party, Super Mario Party over the break with some friends. That game is actually pretty fun. I'm a pretty huge Mario Party detractor, but the mini games themselves are pretty fun. I was fairly drunk when I played it, so that probably
honestly, with Mario Party, that's probably the best way to play it.
Yeah, I don't know how I'd feel about it if I played it totally sober. So don't take that as too much of an endorsement. And I started The Witcher 3 again because I actually want to get through that in the next month or two. But the thing that I played that I have a lot of thoughts about and actually really wanted to kind of speak a little bit longer at is a game from 2016 called Dead by Daylight. I don't know, have any of you played Dead by Daylight before?
No, but I've watched friends play it.
Cool. Yeah, so I bought this game when it came out. The premise of the game is that there's one person who is a horror movie killer and then 4 survivors, and that the survivors are trying to complete objectives and the killer is trying to kill them. The objectives are very static. The survivors are trying to start 5 generators and then escape the level. And that's always the objective. And the generators are placed procedurally around static maps that are based on who the killer is. So I bought this game when it came out and was immediately pretty disappointed with it because it felt pretty imbalanced. It felt there was no way to play with friends. Like you couldn't really queue together at all. And they didn't have custom games in at launch. And it was pretty buggy and all over the place, and the progression didn't really feel that meaningful or satisfying at the time. So I kind of just put it down and never touched it again. I never refunded it or anything. I just didn't play it. And then I wouldn't say I forgot about it. There were times when I thought about reinstalling it, like they started adding licensed killers like Michael Myers and stuff to it. And I'm a pretty big horror movie fan, so I kind of thought about it then, but then never got around to it. But at the Game Awards, there was a really good trailer for it that showed a lot of their kind of stuff they had done over 2018 and some of their 2019 roadmap stuff. And it made me go, oh yeah, I need to remember to play this again. So I finally did that this week. And that game has evolved into something really, really cool. It's definitely one that you kind of have to have an appreciation for its aesthetic, I think, to enjoy. So if you don't like slasher horror movies, it's probably going to be hard to get past that visual design. But otherwise, it's just like a really cool, cerebral, competitive, really well balanced asymmetrical multiplayer game. And I think that they're now up to like 14 killers and I think like 15 different survivor playable characters. And it's really intricate in the way that it kind of works now. Alex brought up Evolve when we were talking about it in our chat prior to this. Has anyone here played Evolve before?
Yes.
So I played Evolve a lot at launch too. I really like, everyone probably knows this, but I really like weird, whether they're asymmetrical or just atypical multiplayer games that kind of go outside of the standard like shoot each other box. So Evolve was one that was interesting to me too. The problem with Evolve is that they just basically tried to make a competitive monster hunter where you're running around a map hunting a monster. And I think that led to it feeling kind of boring and samey, and it didn't really feel like the actions you were doing were that different from if you were just playing Call of Duty or something. The cool thing about Dead by Daylight is that it's totally, there is no way for the survivors to kill the killer. There's no way for them to win other than starting those generators and escaping. And for on the killer side, instead of having like wildly variant, flashy, different kind of characters, the characters at their core are quite similar if you were to watch someone play them, the killer characters. And then their differences are kind of in the margins. So it leads to a really interesting core balanced gameplay experience where what you're tweaking with the different characters is much less severe than in something like a Evolve. And it means that it's a lot more balanced. It's like balanced a lot more successfully. And I think that's really neat. It's things like, the thing that I think is so neat is like every killer character has a basic left click attack. And generally you need to hit a survivor with that 2 times to down them. And then once they're downed, you can mount them on a sacrificial hook, and it's like a meat hook. And then after a cooldown, they'll get killed, like sacrificed, and then they're out. And you get a point, basically. And so every character has a pretty basic, like you click left click and it'll swing their weapon. And that's not really something that changes much from character to character. Things that change are stuff like the cooldown between their left clicks, because they all do like a different action in between their left clicks. Some of them like wipe blood off of the weapon on their sleeve. Some of them like flick a hammer to drip blood off the hammer. Just depends. So you get, and then there's different things like different ranges on them. Some of them you can hold it down to lunge. Sometimes the lunge is more effective on different killers. So you get these very minute differences that on the surface, so you don't even notice them. But when you're actually playing, it makes for very different experience with that like left click attack. They all have different speed ratings, so they all kind of move around at a different pace around the board. That is huge because obviously movement and area control is kind of the biggest part of this game. So that's always interesting. And then they each have one unique power. That's kind of the big thing that separates them on paper. Some of them can do things like stealth. One of them, there's 2 characters that have chainsaws, because there's Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre and the hillbilly character that's original to the game. But the way that they use their chainsaws is totally different. And it results in like actually thinking you have to think a lot about when you deploy your abilities. And that's kind of why I think it's so, there's another one one of my favorite things is there's one character who you can equip a perk on them that changes the field of view, because being able to see more in like sort of a fisheye view of on either side is actually really powerful, because then survivors can't escape around the edges of your vision. So that kind of stuff is just so interesting to me that they kind of change core fundamental ideas of how you play these games, like things like movement speed, attack speed, and field of view and stuff like that. And then the other thing that I think is really awesome about this game is I've never seen a game that incorporates its theme more into its progression, in that the concept is that all of these survivors and these killers have been plucked from their realities into this sort of ethereal hellscape of horror movie chase sequences by this being called the Entity, which is this like, you don't really know anything about them. They manifest as these really creepy like spider legs that kill the survivors on the sacrificial hooks. So every character, killer and survivor alike, has a procedurally generated progression tree called the Blood Web, and you get points, and the points can be spent on any character. So when you finish a game, you get points. You can go spend that on a different character than the one that you just played. And it's at first it's just like a skill tree. You fill up every node. It'll have like 4 slots on it, and you fill the nodes up by paying the blood points. And they'll get you things that are basically like modifiers that only last limited number of games. Usually it's just 1 game. And then also upgrades to your perks, which you equip, and those are constant. and they're little things. They'll change cooldowns. They'll give you the ability to, like, the Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw has one that's called like ham and something soup. It's a play on the fact that he eats people. And when you mount someone on a sacrificial hook, you'll be able to, the players are revealed to you that you didn't just hook as long as they're a certain number or distance away. So it's perks like that. But the cool thing is that as you complete the blood web, you level up the character. When you hit a certain level, you start to have to make choices about which nodes on it to trigger, because the entity will start to eat nodes on it to like feed itself. So like it moves around the skill tree as you buy the different nodes. So you have to start making choices about like, I want this, I don't care if I lose this, etc., which is just a really neat mechanic. And that happens for both survivors and killers. So overall, I think it's like a really interesting, deep game. And they just released a new DLC that has a new killer in it. And they're moving to dedicated servers starting this summer. So I don't know. I think it's actually got a pretty bright future, and it's also got like around 20,000 concurrents during primetime hours, and it never dips below like 10,000. So you can get a game in like 15, 20 seconds usually.
Cool.
It's a lot of fun. You can also do queues now. There are full custom games where you can queue with any friends that you want. Those don't have any progression associated with them, but you can also queue for ranked games with friends as survivors. So there's no way to play in a ranked game where you are a killer and your friend is a survivor, so you can't like cheese it, but you can queue together as survivors, which is pretty cool. The biggest negative I have towards the game is the community seems like exceedingly toxic. But if you kind of just play as a killer and close the chat, it's by yourself. So like there's no one to yell at you really. So that's pretty easily avoidable.
So it's pretty clear like the difference in abilities that you would have as the killer, but like, do the different survivors have different abilities as well then? Because like it seems like mostly what they're doing is just running around and turning on generators and hiding, right?
Yeah, so they get perks. Every character, killer and survivor alike, gets a set of 3 perks that are unique to them. When you max them out and kind of hit their prestige level, then their perks can appear in other characters' blood webs. So that's true for the survivors too. They don't have core basic differences in the way that they interact with the world like killers do, but survivors start with different perks that are available to them, and you get to equip with survivors. You might get to equip more. I actually haven't played as a survivor like hardly at all, because I've only been playing by myself, and I haven't really wanted to jump in on trying to play as a survivor with other people yet. But now that I'm starting to get more familiarity with how the different killers work up, I feel a little better about it. But like, for example, one of the characters, Dwight Fairfield, who's I think one of the basic characters from the base game, he has a perk called Bond that reads, allies' auras are revealed to you when they are within 20, 28, or 36 meters of range, depending on the rank of the perk. So like, once he hits level 30 on his blood web, then other survivors can start to see that perk appear. So it's a neat, the survivors are unique. It's not just cosmetic. They do have different sort of things that are kind of minor. Like another one he has is when he's repairing, healing, sabotaging, cleansing, opening exit gates, and searching chests, which are the 3 different like things that you hold a button down and then a meter fills up. If other survivors are within 8 meters of range, then they get increased speed to complete those tasks. So each of the survivors has like a different set of perks like that, that are teachable. So they do matter, and they are different.
So is this basically the same thing as Clock Simulator, Sam?
100%.
So Clock Simulator is an extremely simple game with a few little variations. Basically, you are the second hand. You have to tap on the second every second and keep the rhythm. And in the standard game, every time you tap it, if you tap it at the wrong time, a little bit the second hand chips away until the whole second hand is gone, and then you're done. And it sets a record for how far you've got. And then there's other ones that are like keep a time, and if you tap in certain parts of the screen, monsters will appear. Like it's an interesting little game. It's on Switch, which is where I'm playing it. I'm playing it for review, but it's on phones for free, so it's fun. It's kind of something that keeps you occupied while you're waiting for something else to happen.
It's like
I totally thought you were joking to use the clock simulator, but it's real.
So
no, it's totally real.
It's kind of like Diablo 3.
Yeah,
it's a good podcast game.
It probably would be good. I don't know, because you've got to be very on top of your seconds.
Sure.
And I feel like a podcast could be distracting.
That's fair.
I got really excited then because I thought, oh, I can use a VPN to use the DC Universe website to watch Young Justice. But when I'm using a VPN, PayPal won't load. So I can't start my free trial by attaching a PayPal account. It's very upsetting.
So tragic.
Sounds upsetting.
So is that everyone? Did we all talk about our video games and how good they were?
We did, yeah.
I also wanted to give a quick shout out. People should go download the meditations.games.
Thanks for reminding me.
I've been playing each of those games every morning. It's a pretty cool experience. It just serves you a tiny little game that takes 5 minutes to play every morning. And it's very, very, very cool. And then, you can kind of discuss them with that hashtag on Twitter. And it's been like really fun to dip into and see other people's interpretations of the games. It's also
thanks for reminding me, because I definitely saw this at work and I was like, oh, I should download it when I get home, and I did not. But
I think it's a great morning ritual.
Yeah, I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, thanks everybody for turning up, talking about video games. Thanks everybody for listening to the podcast. Please like and subscribe. Rate and review us on iTunes or your podcast player of choice. I've been Sam the whole time. You can find everything you want to know about me at my new website, sam.church. It's a real website that I own.
Wow. You did.
Alex?
You can,
what real websites do you own?
You can find me at
Alex.
You can find me at sam.church also.
Then I haven't mentioned you yet. Alison got a mention. She got a shout out.
Ouch.
You didn't recommend The Good Place to me.
Oh, that's totally fair.
And that is actually a very good thing for me to do, because that is good show.
Yeah, it lives up to its name.
It does. It 100% does.
I think everyone should go read Sam's website, which is the good place of the internet.
Thanks, buddy.
That's adorable.
You can find me on Twitter at WRITERSERENYTY. I'd like to do more blogging in the upcoming year, so hopefully I'll get less lazy and do some of that.
If anybody who's listening knows how to stream Young Justice Outsiders in the UK or anywhere to watch it, legally or illegally, whatever, please contact me directly.
Sam at sam.church.
I don't have an email set up, so don't do that. Hit me up on Twitter. Alex, you should watch Young Justice if you haven't. It's basically DC Universe anime.
Interesting.
Yeah, tell me about it.
We should also watch Ninja Batman.
I have watched Ninja Batman, and it's a CG anime, so I couldn't get into it.
Oh, I didn't know it was CG.
Yeah, it doesn't look CG in like all the promotional stuff they've done for it. But when you watch it, it's not traditionally animated. And I was like, oh, I couldn't be less interested now. I watched maybe 8 minutes. Sorry about that, everyone. Alison, where can they find you?
Again.
Yeah.
Mention.
How about you, Pat?
People can find me on Twitter at JesterPC, and it has links to the other stuff that I'm doing in my bio. I also want to write more blog posts in 2019.
Let's do it. Let's
write each other's
let's
blog
motivate
posts
each
in
other.
2019.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's motivate each other to do more writing.
You should
All
write
of
blog
us.
posts about writing more blog
Posts on
posts.
my blog.
I have legitimately done that before. That's joking, but I've definitely written blog posts about like you should write blog posts, and I don't take my own advice.
Hopefully, at some point soon, you'll see my writing featured on major websites. It keeps the negotiation is ongoing. By negotiations ongoing, the person that I am talking to is very bad at replying to Twitter DMs. I keep saying, "Do you want this article?" And he goes, "Yes." And then he reads it and he says, "That's brilliant." And I go, "Okay, cool. What's the next step?" And then I don't hear anything. So either he's being extremely nice.
Subtweeting him like this is not going to make him go faster.
I do not think he has the time to listen to this podcast if he doesn't have the time to read my DMs.
Very fair.
And I don't know whether he's a gamer. Not that this podcast is just for gamers.
I don't know that I'm a gamer. So
Well, have you risen up yet, Pat?
Nope.
Because that's how you know.
Nope.
Thanks everyone for listening. Please come back.
Okay, bye.
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 That's the end of the show.
Bye. I hope you end it on that.
Oh yeah.